Hello everyone, I am just flying here and about to be landing shortly, so I hopefully can get through a video before I am done here. Anyway, just wanted to kind of start off by talking a little bit about a subject that comes up quite often when people are contacting me and is sort of a misnomer. So today in this video I want to talk to you a little bit about how to legally pay the lowest amount of tax possible. And it highlights something that I've discussed here a bunch of times before, which is a common mistake that people make and a common thing people call me about. And it's a little bit frustrating for me, and I think maybe it's a little bit frustrating for other people as well, because they kind of like rehash the same question in their head, and the same question is fundamentally the wrong way to focus on it. So I'm going to talk in this video about what are the most important things. Now hopefully I can get through this before we land here, and hopefully the background noise of the plane is not too loud. So anyway, apologize in regard if there's any issues there. Anyway, so let's see here. The first most important thing to note is that people will call and they basically have this question, and I've discussed this in some previous videos, which is around the subject of, hey Michael, where should I set up a company? What is and this is just like totally the wrong question to ask, okay? Yes, you'll probably have to set up some sort of a company or something like that, but the likelihood that that is the important thing is just not the reality. So people kind of fail to understand what the underlying rules are. And you just have to remember this basic thing, which is if it was so easy, everybody would do it, and tax departments would be out of business. This is not how it works if you're trying to optimize. Okay, very, very important. So let's just start with the basics. Anytime we're thinking about taxation, we have to ask the question of who has the right to tax what of your income. And this is based always on three things, okay? Three things all the time. Number one, what is the residency of the company that is earning the money? And in fact, whatever the legal person is, whether it's you as an individual or the person. If you are resident in some place, then that country's rules get to apply to you. If a company is resident in some place, then that country's rules apply to that company. And so it's not so easy as just saying, oh, I'm going to register a company in such and such country. If it's not resident there, then you're going to be taxable there. So the question is, based on the country where you're living in, what is that country's corporate residency rules? And what do you need to do to comply with those? Really, really important to understand that point, okay? What that usually means is that you usually need to have something, usually management and control, outside of your home country. And so there's 20 different places you could possibly form a company. That's not so important. What's important is, will the company be taxable in your home country anyway? And what do you have to do to make sure that it's not? So usually what that means is you need foreign directors. Now it's not true of every country in the world, which is why if you have questions about it, reach out to us. You can book a call with me. You can send a message to our website. We can go through how it applies to you. But this is not going to be just a simple process of like, oh, let me just register a company in Hong Kong or UAE or wherever, something like that, okay? Very, very important. That's point number one. Point number two is the income of the company is going to be resident somewhere. This is not based on where the customers are usually. It's usually, not always, but usually based on where the work is being done. So what does that mean? It means you typically have to have foreign staff. Either you're working outside the country or the other people are working outside the country. It's not like you can say, oh, well, what if I have a bank account somewhere else? Or what if I, have my customers outside? Generally speaking, where your customers don't matter, okay? That's generally not an issue. But where the work is getting does matter. So you need to plan from the standpoint of, well, either I'm relocating outside so that I'm going to go and do this work somewhere else, or I'm going to hire people who are outside. Okay, very, very important. Number three, the country that you are resident in determines what are called the controlled foreign companies rules. And this means if you own over a certain share of a foreign company, then they may force you to include the income of that company in your income, or the holding company income. Doesn't matter how many layers you put through there. You can have 20 different layers. Makes no difference whatsoever. The rules are designed to work around that. And so what will happen is you're in a situation where you have to make sure you work around those rules. So if you don't understand those local rules, which are applicable based on where you are resident, where you're living, then you could be doing it all for nothing. Okay, so very, very important. When we're trying to optimize as much as possible, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about, let's take the legal entity that we are going to be earning the income through, let's move it to some other place outside of the country, And let's do that by shifting the management control either through ourselves or some employees we own or hiring a foreign fiduciary. Let's go and let's have real people who are hired to do real stuff outside of the country that we're in some place that is not going to trigger the local rules. To some extent, you may be limited where you can't do it all, but at least you can shift part of that outside. And number 3, let's make sure we work around these controlled foreign companies rules. Now, the latter, at least often, only apply when you're in a situation that is passive income. It's not always, it's country by country. Rules are super diverse, so it really depends on your country. If you have questions, again, reach out to us. But work around those, and if you can do those 3 things, then you can optimize. You can almost always do this, even without relocating, if you have enough scale to justify hiring the people outside of the country. If you don't have enough scale to justify hiring the people outside of the country, then you probably have to relocate. And so, you can either choose to build up the company, or you can relocate yourself. Relocating yourself is certainly I'm not going to say the easiest, because relocating is not necessarily easy, but it simplifies things quite a bit. It's not always necessary, but you should consider it. So anyway, don't think about where should I form a company. Forget about that. The where is not the important part. The rules are the important part. Always these 3 rules, okay? So hopefully that's helpful. Like I said, I've produced a bunch of different content on this subject in the past. You can check out the other videos. But if you want specific help, you can reach out to us. You can book a call with me. Again, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below. Or you can send a message through offshorecitizen.net. And I will look forward to talking to you guys very soon.